Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 in our chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are using the Johnson edition. We turned out a poem 550, I Cross Till I Am Weary. A mountain in my mind is the second part of the second line of this poem. Now, in many ways, we'll see this as another theodicy, the question of the pain and the suffering that must be encountered if one is going to find oneself to a goal. Now, many have made the connection between this poem and Wordsworth, the great preacher's Charles Wadsworth's sermon line that might have been, Richard Sewell, the biography of Emily, has pointed out that it was Wadsworth who said once in a sermon, quote, "Far away over the desert, up where the mountains are piercing the skies, shine the palaces of immortality. And if we attain to them in triumph at all, these deserts must be traversed, these stormy waters crossed, these mountains ascended." Now, our assumption is that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. Hopefully you worked through our set of introductory comments. We mentioned Wadsworth there, as well as the preceding 549 poems. We just finished with 549 that I Did Always Love. Now, if you have done that, then you can place this poem again in the question that Emily often asks about the value of the challenge. Now, I think this poem has standing behind it the great epics that Emily loves so much. Think of it. What is it that Homer is doing in the Iliad and in the Odyssey? What is it that Virgil is doing in the Aeneid? What is it that Dante does in his Divine Commedia? What do they all share in common? Well, they all tell stories about a goal that is required for the journey to take place. Somehow the journey is defined by the goal. And of course, the suffering that is always a part of the hero of all of those. I mean, Sing, O Goddess, the Rage of Achilles. By the way, we've given full lectures on all of those epic poems at learnstrong.net for those of you that need to run that to ground. So weariness is a part of the Odyssean life, of the life that Virgil will create of Aeneas, for example. Of course, you can remember in, Dante's Inferno, passage 24, when the poor bloke is so tired he can't even get up, and Virgil has to say to him, "Up on your feet, this is no time to tire." That Italian word will play well with this word weary. I cross till I am weary, a mountain in my mind, more mountains than a sea, more seas, and then a desert find. And my horizon blocks with steady drifting grains of unconjectured quantity, as Asiatic rains. Nor this defeat my pace, it hinder from the west, but as an enemy salute one hurrying to the rest. What merit had the goal except there intervene faint doubt, and far competitor to jeopardize the game? At last, the grace in sight, I shout unto my feet, I offer them the whole of heaven. The instant that we meet, they strive and yet delay, they perish. Do we die? Or is this death's experiment reversed in victory? Now, the fact that she ends this poem with a couple of question marks begs whether she's in full agreement with Wadsworth and the idea that to get to one's goal of immortality, one must go through all of these terrible things. Notice she begins by saying, I cross till I am weary. In other words, back and forth over mountains. Notice the suffering as first mountains, then seas, then deserts. A mountain in my mind, more mountains than a sea, more seas, and then a desert find. Of course, this is Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress as well, which probably is central to her thinking here. And even then, my horizon is blocked. In other words, I can't see. Why? The grain is in the way, right? With steady drifting grains of unconjectured quantity, and then she'll use as Asiatic rains. Nor this defeat my pace. In other words, I keep going, I keep walking. It hinder from the west, but as an enemy salute one hurrying to the rest. In other words, I'm not going to allow anything to get in my way. I've got to keep going. What merit had the goal? Now she'll begin her questions. Except there intervene faint doubt. Now, it's possible that this is a line that's just pure Emily. Why? Because I think Emily does struggle with the question of believing that at times her project her goal is attainable and merit-filled, to use her language. What merit had the goal except there intervened faint doubt and far competitor to jeopardize the gain. Notice gain and grain. By the way, competitor here is interesting. Is she speaking about other people that she is longing to be with her, or she sees them as somehow opposing her journey? At last, and then of course this brings us to our epic reading, right? Think of Dante. And finally, as he gets to Paradiso after getting through Inferno and Purgatorio, at last, the grace in sight. The use of the word grace is fascinating. The goal now becomes grace. I shout unto my feet. This is pure Dante. This is pure Inferno 24. Up on your feet, this is no time to tire. The man who lies asleep will never awaken fame, and his desire in all his life slept past him like a dream. We've given, again, full lectures on all of these texts. At last, the grace in sight. I shout unto my feet. I offer them, notice all these verbs. I offer them the whole of heaven. Is this the immortality? What she often referred to as the flood question. The immortality question. The instant that we meet. In other words, it's going to be worth it, guys. It's going to be worth it, she's saying to her feet. And then, of course, her feet strive and yet delay. This seems to be the human condition, right? They perish. And then she asks it, notice all these dashes. Do we die? Or is this death's experiment reversed in victory? Now, when we get to poem 695, we'll come back to this study. As if the seas should part and show a further sea, and then a further, and then the three, but a presumption be, of periods of seas, unvisited of shores, themselves the verge of seas to be. Eternity is those. I think the point that she's making here at 2a is that suffering must be borne in a kind of silence, and one must keep going. At 2b, it isn't clear that she's totally certain about the goal and achieving the goal at all. At 3a, well, again, at poem 695, all the stuff we have to go through before death, and again, the promise is immortality. I can't help but think, especially of Odysseus. Emily, I think, likes to put herself in the Odyssean mind of being so far gone for so long and longing to get back to Ithaca and to his Penelope and to, of course, Telemachus, and not believing that, in fact, maybe it's going to happen, doubting that it's going to happen, and yet somehow have to believe because that's the only thing that keeps your feet going. Finally, at 3b, to own a poem like this, when was a time when you weren't certain of the goal, and yet you keep telling yourself, I got to keep going, I got to keep going. Maybe for some of you, reading all 1,775 poems of the Johnson edition is going to be a challenge like that. There's always more poems, there's always more sea, and then there's a desert. Thank you.